For 7 years, every single night at exactly 8 o'clock, the same ritual unfolded inside the grand mansion on the hill, silver cutlery aligned with military precision, a perfectly plated gourmet meal slowly cooling, and a blind man sitting alone at the head of a table meant for 12. His name was Adrian Blackwood, a billionaire whose name once ruled boardrooms, headlines, and markets. Before darkness claimed his eyes, Adrian had everything: wealth, influence, admiration, but after a devastating accident robbed him of his sight, the world quietly abandoned him. Business partners cashed out. Friends stopped visiting. Invitations faded. Even distant family members found excuses to stay away, uncomfortable with the men who reminded them how fragile success truly was. What remained was silence, broken only by the soft footsteps of the housemaid who served him dinner and disappeared before he could utter a word. Adrian insisted on dining alone, believing solitude was easier than enduring pity. He convinced himself he preferred it that way, though every night, as he lifted his fork, his chest felt heavier than the darkness around him. He could no longer see the gold trim on the walls or the crystal chandelier above him, but he felt the emptiness echoing through the halls. Then one evening, everything changed, not because of a doctor, not because of a miracle cure, but because of a little girl who wasn't supposed to be there. The maid, Sophia, had arrived late that day, breathless and apologetic, holding the hand of her 6-year-old daughter, Alina. Her babysitter had cancelled at the last moment, and Sophia had no choice. She begged Adrian's assistant for permission, fully expecting to be fired. Adrian, seated silently in his study, overheard the conversation and coldly said she could stay, only for the night. What he didn't know was that Alina was watching him with innocent curiosity, not fear. That night, as Sophia prepared dinner, Alina wandered into the dining room, drawn by the man sitting so still it was as if he were carved from stone. Before anyone could stop her, she walked right up to him and placed her small hand on his cheek. Adrian stiffened. His heart pounded. No one had touched his face in years. "You look lonely," Alina said softly. The room froze. Sophia rushed forward, trembling, apologizing over and over, but Adrian raised his hand, signaling her to stop. For the first time in 7 years, he felt something crack inside him. Not anger. Not irritation. But warmth. He asked Alina to sit. From that night on, she joined him for dinner. Unlike adults, she didn't avoid uncomfortable questions. She asked him what blindness felt like. She asked if darkness had colors. She asked if he remembered his mother's face. And Adrian, who had locked his emotions behind steel walls, found himself answering. Alina began describing the world to him, the color of the soup, the way sunlight danced across the windows, the expressions on Sophia's face when she worried. Through her words, Adrian started seeing again, not with his eyes, but with his imagination. Laughter returned to the table, cautious at first, then genuine. The mansion, once a tomb of echoes, slowly filled with life. Weeks turned into months. Adrian began requesting that Alina stay for dinner. He started eating more. Talking more. Even smiling. But what Adrian didn't realize was that Alina was doing something extraordinary. She noticed things no one else had. The way Adrian flinched at sudden noises. The way his hands trembled when he spoke of the accident. She overheard doctors discussing his condition, how his blindness wasn't entirely physical, how trauma had locked his vision away. While specialists had given up, Alina hadn't. In her own innocent way, she believed his eyes were just scared. So she made it her mission to help them feel safe. Every night, she played a game with him. She asked him to imagine simple things, a candle flame, a blue sky, a smiling face. At first, nothing happened. Adrian humored her, thinking it was just a child's imagination. But slowly, something stirred. One evening, as Alina described a rainbow she'd seen after the rain, Adrian felt a sharp pain behind his eyes. He dropped his fork, gasping. Tears streamed down his face. Doctors were called. Tests were run. And then came the words no one expected to hear: his vision was returning. It wouldn't be instant. It wouldn't be easy. But it was happening. When Adrian finally opened his eyes weeks later and saw clearly for the first time, the first face he recognized was Alina's, smiling proudly, as if she had known all along. In that moment, the billionaire who once ruled empires fell to his knees, crying, not because he could see, but because he understood something far more powerful. The impossible didn't happen because of money or medicine. It happened because a child chose kindness over fear. Adrian changed after that day. He reopened his heart, his home, and his fortune, not for luxury, but for people like Sophia and Alina, for those the world overlooks. He built foundations, funded trauma research, and turned his mansion into a place of warmth instead of loneliness. But one thing mattered more than all of it. Every night at 8 o'clock, Adrian still sat at that same table. Only now, it was filled with laughter, conversation, and love. And he never dined alone again. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that miracles can come from the smallest hearts and the simplest acts of kindness, then don't let it end here. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful, emotional stories that inspire hope, healing, and humanity. Your support helps us bring these stories to life, and the next one might change the way you see the world.